Call the meeting to order. Ask Dr. Dugan to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Lockfelter? Here. Ms. Nyworth? Here. Dr. Bridges? Here. Mr. Jester?
Here.
Ms. Edwards? Here. Colonel Curtis?
Here. Okay, item number 4 is special guests and special recognitions.
Yes, we do have special guests, and Mr. Jester, if you will join me at the podium, and we'll ask Colonel Curtis to join us. But I'll let you, when we get finished, I'll let you hand that to Colonel Curtis.
Okay.
For everybody, Colonel Curtis is is the commander, or garrison commander, Fort Sill, which, may I understand it, you're kind of like the mayor of Fort Sill. Everything goes on Fort Sill goes through him. And so, but we have a liaison. He is the liaison from Fort Sill that sits on our board. He's been incredibly faithful. He has been at the vast majority of board meetings, which has been very refreshing for us. In addition to that, he has to serve on the city council. So between the two of them, God bless you, sir. God bless you. But what we do, and I don't think we, I'm not sure if you remember, but as people leave, we want to make sure you have something to remember Lawton Public Schools by. And so what we do, we have a community award that we give only to a few people a year, and it's a Friend of LPS award. You, however, get the very first redesigned award, which is the Friend of LPS, and the communications department has redesigned it to get us. We couldn't get the old design anymore, so we had to transition. So there's no big. Won't tell But anyways, on behalf of Lawton Public Schools, Board of Education, everybody here, we appreciate your service. You have been a tremendous servant, a liaison. You've helped us get a lot of things done this year, and I would like everybody to show them our appreciation.
So, Tom, what I'd say is, and to the board, it's been my distinct pleasure to serve on the board these last 2 years. Everyone's been so incredibly gracious, and just the opportunity to collaborate so closely on our shared opportunities and challenges, it's just been a real pleasure. Also, given that Ann and I are not from this area and not, have not been to Sill before, just everyone in the community was so nice, understanding. Brought Ann and I in, and I just want to thank you personally and then the board for all that, working all these issues. I will say too that Fort Sill and Lawton Public Schools enjoy incredibly close working relationship, and we're able to work through a lot of issues over the last 2 years, and that's really a testament to our close relationship, and I think just us working together as well. I always felt like I could call you and vice versa, and I collaborate and level understanding on issues, and so it was a real joy to work with the Lawton Public School system and the board. So anyway, thank you so much for the support.
All right. And we do have in the audience Colonel Curtis's replacement.
So I'm remiss. So the board is trading up, and so my replacement, Colonel Don King, and for the community, the Garrison Change Command will be next Tuesday, the 24th of July at 8:30 in the morning at Old Post Quadrangle, and everyone's welcome to attend.
Good. Okay, item number 5, departmental reports.
Okay, under departmental reports, of course, item 5A is the usual reports from the departments. If the board doesn't have any specific questions about those, we'll move on.
I do have a question.
Okay.
For Mrs. Hastings. I noticed on our personnel report, where's she at? Oh, maybe she's not in here. Never mind. Guess I don't have a question yet.
Okay. Well, then ask a question. Barbara may be able to help us.
Okay. Well, my question is, I'm looking at what we're still looking for as far as employees go, and I know that there's several concerns have been expressed about not having enough nurses. Is that something that we're looking at also? Is trying to hire additional I know that Freedom is nurses like swamped daily with it so large. You know.
I know that we aren't posting for nurses at this particular time, and if I'm not mistaken, I still think we need about 12 remaining teachers for the district. But that's a very small snippet of what I can give you, and she'd be better equipped to answer that, and I'll make sure that she gets your question when she comes
Okay.
in.
All right.
Ms. Lawton, I will let you know, we were able to hire one additional nurse this year.
We have.
And so we have been able to increase by one this year.
Okay, we do have one increase? Okay, thank you.
And Jean did stop in, she said we're at 22 teachers left for the year. So, pretty close. She's, good job. All right, any more questions on item 5A? I'm going to move to item 5B, which is, I'm going to turn over to Ms. Ellis, which is consideration of a contract with Sodexo for proposed facilities management services. For today's presentation, we do not have a contract. This is to prepare the board for the possibility, and we do have the possibility to enter into a letter of intent, which would enable us to move forward a little quicker once it's on the agenda for the next board meeting, if we so choose to move that direction.
And we can do a letter of intent today, is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Okay.
Ms. Ellis?
Good afternoon. After the last answer, I'm not sure I'm going to answer any questions today, but we'll try to the best of our ability anyway. I'm Barbara Ellis, Assistant Superintendent for Business Operations, and I've had the opportunity to take this journey since approximately 2014 with the members of the Sodexo Facilities Management Team, trying to figure out what Lawton Public Schools would be able to avail in services. And as we've been working for the past few months, we've made some remarkable strides. During the past years, we've asked the question to validate the work and the workforce of our maintenance department, and we've had very little data to determine how effective our maintenance department has been, how we prepared for the workload, and how we were going to be able to devise ways and means to gather that data. So as we were unable to access that information, I continued to have that ongoing conversation. On May 14th, I placed an RFQ for qualifications for any company that might be able to help us with this process, and I received 4 queries. Of those 4 queries, only one responded. 3 were just questions with regard to what kind of process were we looking for, and those companies were unable to provide the services that we were looking for. So my task for Sodexo was to try to help us answer questions such as, how many hours does it take to effectively complete a maintenance job? How many hours do we need for the manpower that we have? What inventories are on hand? What's needed in order to be able to improve the facilities maintenance management of the district to ensure that we have preventive maintenance in place, and so that we can serve critical tasks at the same time. Because all of the time that we find our maintenance department is serving on critical tasks, and those items take priority, of course, with the safety of our children in mind. So with that in mind, we asked for that information, and we received very good responses from them. I think Sodexo can answer these questions for you, so I've asked them to prepare the proposal for the district, and at this time, I would like to introduce to you Dana Dunn, the representative from Sodexo, who will introduce everybody else in the group that's here, and then we'll complete the process of giving you the overview. Mr. Dunn.
Thank you, Mrs. Ellis. Hello, everyone. My name is Dana Dunn. I'm with Sodexo. I want to thank everyone for the opportunity to be here tonight to present our integrated facilities management solution. We have brought a team of Oklahoma resources with us, and I'd like to go ahead and, oh, you gave this to me, didn't you? I need to click this thing. Where's this thing at? There we go. It'll work now. All right. So we brought some of our Oklahoma team with us today, and I want to introduce them to you. You know Steve right here. Most of you probably know Steve, food service director. And then we've got Mark Coulter here, who used to be at Lawton. Where's Jennifer at? There's Jennifer. Jennifer Strong, our fearless leader. And then we have Sarah, who's our HR partner. And then we have Eleanor Ocha and BJ Mandelston that's with us here today. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and give this to BJ Mandelston.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us tonight. We really appreciate the opportunity to share our vision for facilities management at Lawton Public Schools. And we did bring a team of resources to share just some of the local individuals who will support the transition should the board choose to go down this path. Okay, just making sure I wasn't getting a sign over there. All right. So facilities management is a really challenging job to do, even in the best of times. And it's especially difficult when you have budget pressures, when your buildings are aging, and you're under construction and you're bringing in new tools, new types of processes and equipments to manage your building. It's very difficult if you don't have the fundamental knowledge of what's behind each of these walls and the history that's gone into each of the buildings. So fundamentally, when you begin to develop a program that's a thriving program, you need some foundational tools. And just to share with you what some of those are, it really starts with leadership and it starts with technology. It starts with an individual director of facilities who has the knowledge and the know-how to run buildings, as well as manage individuals and people, understand the processes of construction, as well as daily operations and management, and that is not an easy skill set to acquire. This individual also has to be the face of the community. So it starts with leadership, and that individual needs to be supported with technology. And technology isn't just an app on your iPhone or logging into Grainger to place a supply order. There's a much greater detail of technology that's involved. Innovation and best practices. Buildings and building management, it's a safety program first. We're in the business of keeping buildings operational, up and running, and making sure that we're not experiencing failures. And the way to do that is by having a set of standard operating procedures. It's understanding first what's in the building and how to maintain it, how to run it, and what kind of training and tools and resources the individual employees need in order to do a good job, to meet the expectation, and ultimately exceed it. It also means that we have transparency and accountability, and it's not just transparency and accountability to the board and administrators, it's accountability and transparency to the person that places a work order or calls for a move or a change or a light bulb that's out. So it's accountability to our teachers and our community as well as our students. So how do we bring all this together? We need to have caring and skilled employees. And Lawton Public Schools has those employees. So how do you do all this and keep it budget neutral? And that's what I'd like to talk about next. What I have on the screen, and I'm sorry you can't see it in the back, but this is the expenditure study, or summary actually. It looks at the budget for this current year. Facilities management really has two buckets of funds. The first is wages and salaries for employees, and that's about $5.5 million. The second bucket is for facilities supplies and purchasing, and that's around $2.2 million for a total budget of $7.6 million. The bottom row shows what the budget would look like if you choose to partner with Sodexo for a facilities management contract. And what you'll see here is that there's really a redistribution of the facilities supplies and maintenance purchasing from the district being responsible for those purchasings to Sodexo being responsible to supply all of those parts, inventory, the same types of material that you're purchasing today. And what we're doing is we're extending our national buying power to the local businesses in Lawton to provide the same materials that they're providing today, just at a different price point. Those savings are reallocated or redistributed back into the program. The other thing that's different is there are 3 salaried positions that are vacant positions with Lawton Public Schools today. They're your director of facilities, it's a facilities operations manager, as well as a grounds manager. Those positions would move to Sodexo, and that's really the foundation of that leadership we're beginning to talk about. I'm going to click through and just bring all these up at once because they really truly link together. So as I mentioned, we begin with management and leadership and the know-how to run a high-performing, thriving facilities management department with engaged employees. From that, the backbone of the system is understanding what's in your buildings. And technology, asset inventory, and data analytics, they're probably overused words today. But what it means in facilities management is it means we have a team of engineers who will be on property, inventorying and surveying all of the district's properties beginning in August. This is literally a swarm of engineers coming through because there's a lot of mechanical, electrical, and plumbing equipment within the district. This foundational work that they're completing is identifying where the equipment's located. They're capturing critical information, including make, model, serial number of the equipment. They're looking at it and providing a beginning assessment of its condition. So is it going to fail? Is it in great condition? Is it in good condition? All of that means, all of that determines how we build a job plan. And this is captured in our computerized maintenance management system. You may have heard the acronym CMMS. It's essentially the owner's manual for your building. The CMMS is what allows us to know when we've hit 3,000 miles and it's time to change our oil. Or if we're in a new car, with synthetic oil, it's 10,000 miles when it's time to change the oil. The CMMS creates those work orders from this foundational work that we do that generates the activities of the employees, what needs to be maintained, what needs to be repaired, and at what frequency does this need to happen. It's not just generating a work order for an employee to execute, it's also making sure that person who's completing the work has the right tools and equipment at hand at the right time so they do it efficiently and effectively. I'm sure many of us in the room have gone to Home Depot on the weekend when it's time to replace a toilet or fix a closet, and you walk into Home Depot, you buy those supplies, you get back home and you realize this is the first of probably 4 trips to Home Depot that I'm going to complete today. It's the same thing for our maintenance employees. If they're not kitted out properly with the right tools, they end up generating a lot of windshield time. That means they're driving back and forth to get the material that they need to do the work that they're tasked with completing. The CMMS and the tools that we're providing or investing in Lawton Public Schools allows us to have the right material and parts on site before the work is going to be completed. And that's the backbone of the system. Not only do we end up with well-maintained buildings that aren't failing, today we're looking at a system that's very reactive. That means if it's on fire, figuratively, that's when the work is being completed. We want to shift to being a preventative program. That means we're planning in advance when to make the maintenance repair on the equipment. What that does for the district is every dollar you spend on preventative maintenance saves $4 in the future. So this is how we're starting to generate efficiencies as well as saving money, preserving assets. But what it really fundamentally is doing is it's keeping schools open, it's keeping children in classrooms learning, it's children in cafeterias eating lunch, and it's kids playing on the playground. And it's employees who aren't making 4 trips to Home Depot to get the material and tools that they need, and the aggravation and frustration that can cause. All of this is captured in a manner that we can report it back to you. As Ms. Ellis indicated earlier, it's not a data-driven system today. Decisions aren't being made based on data and accurate information. In a matter of probably 60 days, we'll have those first data reports generated for you. And those first data reports are going to give us an indication of what kind of deferred maintenance we have, and that's going to be a staggering number. But over time, we're going to see those numbers come down because of the way we're performing maintenance. That transparency and accountability, it's going to allow the board to make decisions and allocate your budget and extend the value of every dollar that you're not spending in a classroom, that you're spending on your buildings to do it more effectively and efficiently. And then we have really that accountability to our stakeholders, which is our principals, our teachers, our community, and our students. This is a very transparent, easy system to gather and understand data as well as interact with. So I'd like to introduce Eleanor Ochoa. She is our Facilities Management District Manager in the state of Oklahoma, and she'll share with you some of the transition activities upon board approval. So Eleanor.
So thank you. This to me is an exciting part, because from day one, we have local, and you've seen some of our local resources. We have local and national resources that can come in to help us prep for first day of school. And there are several simultaneously occurring activities that'll help us get there. I'm going to start with the most important, which is people and community first. So to us, the most important thing when we're going through a transition like this is change can be difficult, and we understand that, and we have a lot of experience in managing change and helping people manage through change. So one of the first things that's going to happen is you'll see people like Sarah, our HR manager, who's local, will come in along with Mark, with our safety, and start having discussions with employees in coordination with Lawton Public Schools. Answering their questions, because they'll have many, and we'll be answering their questions from whatever the smallest question is to the largest, most complicated, as long as it takes, as many times as it takes. We're here to make them comfortable with the change that will be coming. We're going to begin the team building activities, because once again, the most critical piece of this is our people, the people that are here and the leadership that we will bring to it. Technology, and you've heard BJ talk about technology. I want to talk about the people part of that, because in addition to all of the employees, we want to have a listening tour, in essence, where we talk to the principals and the business community, athletics. We want to hear what can facilities do to improve your quality of life. So ensuring that how we can improve facilities performance, and through that, also develop the training schedule and for the technology that we're going to be bringing in. So it's going to be critical for our people to feel comfortable, for the teams to feel comfortable with the technology that we're introducing, as well as principals, teachers, administration to feel comfortable with the technology that we're bringing in to better respond to the needs. And then operationally and maintenance, we're going to make sure that the team has the tools, the inventory, the supplies to do the job and to perform the work that we have, so that we can be ready first day of school. So as you saw, that we have people, technology, and operations and maintenance, but truly the backbone of all of that is ensuring that people are ready for the change, they understand the change, and they know the value that Lawton Public Schools is investing in them as we move forward. So I'm going to turn it back over to Mrs. Ellis for any questions.
We wanted to find out, first of all, if you have questions and who you wanted to direct those questions to, and I'll help with that if you have that need.
I noticed it says local vendors. You want to expound on that a little bit?
Sure. Do you want to?
Tell me what that entails.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. It's really important that we become a part of the community, as we already are with the food service program that we're providing to Lawton Public Schools. We recognize that the dollars that are spent in Lawton need to remain in Lawton. So what that means is during this first 30-day period, we're actually looking at what does the current vendor list look like? Who do you have POs with? And we have a separate group of resource individuals that come in and work with vendors or work with the local businesses to make sure that it's really an accounting exercise to make sure that they're set up in the system and that we're answering questions. It begins with a letter notification, and then we host, just as we do with employees, vendor meetings, and then it can turn into one-on-one meetings to help individual establishments through the process.
Could you explain the process a little bit more? So the vendors will be able to buy at a better price?
Correct.
Are we also going to kind of tell them what they can sell them for to us? Are we going to dictate the price that they must sell it to us at?
In the majority of cases, we have a national contract with our buying power behind us. We extend that national contract to local vendors, so it's allowing us to purchase on behalf of the district at a lower price. It also allows the individual vendors to extend that pricing to other contracts that they may have. We find that it can be a nice benefit to leverage, again, our buying power for existing businesses outside of Lawton Public Schools.
Okay, so you do kind of control the price.
Right.
It's a it's national contract pricing, so the purchase price is negotiated through that national contract.
Okay.
I noticed we said something about grounds. I thought we discussed before that grounds wasn't going to be included in this.
Grounds would be
And also, when we have new projects and stuff we've already bid out, and we have a CMS group that's in charge of that, are they taking over for that? How does that work with our new projects?
The Sodexo staff would operate, and essentially, instead of a director of maintenance, we're replacing with a company that would perform the same functions, and so their staff would meet those needs.
Okay, I'm not understanding that process at all.
That doesn't change any contracts.
It doesn't change, no, it doesn't change. For example, Crosslands is still our CMAR.
Yep.
AIP is
But
still
they
our
would then be
contract.
responsible to this company.
No, they're still responsible to us as the owner, but they would
I
help
know that.
manage in cooperation. It wouldn't change any of our plans with Safe Rooms or Eisenhower Middle School or any of the other projects that we have on slated.
Okay, that's not my question. I know we'll have that, but my question is, now they will have another company that they're going to be responsible to when they're having when they're going out and getting their subcontractors and stuff that they're getting. How does that work?
You mean on,
Like
within bond
Eisenhower Middle
projects?
Well, they're working with our subs now as each part of this middle school gets bid out. How does that fall in with this?
Eisenhower Middle School is still completely under the contract with the CMAR.
So they won't have anything to do with Eisenhower.
No.
What about the safe rooms?
They'll help guide and advise just as any maintenance director
For
would.
future maintenance and.
Yeah.
Just for other projects?
Well, I mean, on bond projects too, they'll be my point of contact.
Well, yeah, for future bond projects.
In our current project, anything we've got ongoing, for example, the other day I had a meeting with the CMAR and the architect. Several of us did. Those meetings would probably be handled by the Sodexo staff members, and they would report to us just as a maintenance director would.
And now my other question is, a lot of our buildings, of course, are old. And
Right.
a lot of our equipment is going to be outdated. Do y'all come in and then say, we're going to need to replace, 1,000 heating air units that we've got in windows and stuff, and that, what if we can't do that or are not willing to do that? How does that work?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. The data collection that I mentioned at the beginning, it will identify those 1,000 units, and we'll have an understanding of what the condition is of them, because they won't all be bad and they won't all be great. And the system that we're providing will help us determine the total expense of the maintenance cost to bring them up to standard. That's deferred maintenance. It'll also help the board, as well as Dr. Deegan and others, determine which ones are critical in terms of keeping classrooms or key spaces open and at the right condition that you want them. And it allows you to schedule out the kinds of maintenance you want to occur. So there's no dictating and saying, oh, we need to have $10,000 to replace this unit and bring it up. It's a conversation to say you have a unit that will cost $10,000 to change, and how key is it or critical is it to the district that it's maintained. Run to failure is a strategy, and we might recommend in an outbuilding that run to failure is what you want to do, or we might say it's a classroom, so we want to invest that kind of money in it. So it's really a collaborative partnership on those types of big expenses.
Okay, yeah, because I know, I've been in areas, worked in areas and stuff where sometimes you can make a heat and air unit run a little longer. We have a heat and air guy in here right now, just by chance, but, sometimes you have people that need to go ahead and have that heat and air duct taped a little bit longer so they can save that money, or, or sometimes, you have people that just want to go brand new. And that's kind of my concern on.
Oh, so let me answer it this way. One of the very first conversations we have when the engineers are out cataloging and capturing that data is we're preparing a criticality assessment. We're actually operating or managing the buildings according to an international asset management framework standard. That criticality assessment is sitting down with key Lawton stakeholders and saying, how are we going to prioritize work in your buildings? It is a formal exercise for us to help you identify what buildings are important, what spaces are important, and how much attention do they deserve, how much of that budget do they deserve in order to keep them up and operational. So that'll happen within the month of August right away.
Okay, and how many large districts like ours do y'all worked with, or do y'all work with? I know you're nationwide, so.
Oh, we are. So within the state of Oklahoma, we're with Tulsa and Norman. I'm missing somebody. And more, thank you.
Okay.
Size-wise, we're as big as Chicago Public Schools. all the way down to very small districts.
And now the employees, our employees remain our employees.
Correct.
Basically, they're getting a new supervisor, which would be
Correct.
your person. So nothing changes for them other than the boss.
It's the boss. There's also a nice investment in equipment and tools and training. I think one of the things I'm proudest of is our safety program. There's a definite investment in safety program. The district is realizing the benefits of all those things, but the employees remain yours.
I'm trying to understand the budget neutral concept. It sounds great, and I'm really excited about the idea. But I guess what I want to understand is, have you been able to gather enough data yet to know that this is an adequate budget to get done what we need to do, or is that, we're going to find that out later, and is there a chance that this needs to change?
There's a couple of questions in there. So the first question is, do you have enough to do what you want to do? And I don't know what you want to do yet. We need to have that criticality assessment completed first with you. And then we start to align the budget to the criticality assessment. We'll never have enough dollars to do everything we want to do. We just aren't that flush in funds. Lawton has made a tremendous investment in the number of people that you have on your staff. That's a great first step. And with training and investment in proper tools and equipment for those individuals, that's a great leap forward. Over time, as we move from reactive to preventative, and it'll take time to do that, those realized savings in time and material, those 4 trips back and forth to Home Depot, become opportunities for Lawton employees to finish and complete work in a timely manner, opening up additional time to complete additional work. That's where some of those efficiencies come in, and that's how we start to be budget neutral and improve the condition of the buildings. It's a very proven process. It works very well. It's just like any change, there's an evolution to it, and the first phase is getting the foundational information, making the investment in training, and equipping the employees in the way that they deserve to be equipped, and then aligning the work plans to the employees to the criticality assessment or the desires of the district to do what you want to do.
So how long is that process going to take for us to get to the point where we have a clear plan for the future, so we can see what's going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years?
That's a great question. You'll start to see the beginnings of that information be fed back to you in reports within 60 days. Within 120 days, we'll have a very firm understanding of the work that should be done, and Eleanor and the team will begin to map that out. And again, it's collaborative, and especially in the beginning, we want to make sure we're mapping it out in a way that meets the district's needs. So there's this very good communication and tracking of those projects. And then going forward, when you want to look at 5, 10 years down the road, I'd say that's probably a good 12-month activity. So this time, when school closes at the end of 19, that's a great time for us to say, how does the district look 5 and 10 years from now? What do we want to be known as? What do we want it to look like? And figure that out together.
I guess a question for you, Dr. Deegan, would be, during this collaborative process, who is going to be involved in that?
Which collaborative process?
Well, when we're talking about looking at
The transition.
the data and where we're going to head into the future, trying to make the decisions about equipment we're going to replace and buy, all of those things, who are they going to work with directly?
Directly
from
with
LPS?
Marcellus.
Okay.
And then just like with any other, ultimately, no big budget decisions, no big projects happen without the approval of the board and the superintendent as well. And so.
So the recommendations will come from Mrs. Ellis?
Yeah, through me, through the board. And that's something I wanted to clarify. At any point in this process, would Sodexo ever replace the authority of the board or the superintendent to make those decisions and planning processes, formalize them?
I don't think we would. The only time we would probably do something that was, would be a fire life safety human hazard condition.
Right.
Everything else other than, daily maintenance, there's a maintenance plan that you could look at in total, but any larger decision is with, in conversation with you, is mapping it out with you.
and that's with Miss Ellis. Miss Ellis, we meet weekly, minimum.
And I know she said the 60 days, so how often will we be able to see, I like to see spreadsheets? you
Yeah,
know, To see
awesome.
what's going on in our district.
The frequency of board reports is at your discretion. I certainly recommend in the beginning that they're more frequent. You want to hear what's going on, and we want to report what's happening, because we can pivot and shift much easier in that, when you have that knowledge. Ms. Ellis and other users of the system will have it on demand through they'll have access to all the applications that tell them the state of the program at that moment in time. But again, I would recommend more frequent conversations in the beginning.
It's my understanding, I've done a little of this with my past company, is if I want to know what the condition of the air conditioner on Shoemaker Center is, you can go online and you can look up that unit and see what maintenance has been done.
Exactly,
It's
yeah.
really,
It's an amazing,
Yeah.
when you put the data behind it and you start to track it, and it sounds like you know exactly what the outcome is.
well, and you can see the
It's a
preventive
beautiful
maintenance.
thing
Yeah, it's
for
going to take
facilities
us a while, you know, the preventive maintenance
It
part of
does.
it is going to take a while, but in a year from now, we should be in a lot better shape.
It's a different conversation.
Yeah.
I'd like to follow up on one thing I thought I heard you say. It sounded like your first assessment is that we have a good base of employees, the right number and
Yeah, correct.
and skills, skill sets. So you feel like that's where it needs to be already, or close.
There's two different parts to it. You definitely have enough employees today. So the number of employees is good. The skill set, it's twofold. We have to understand what the equipment is to make sure we match the right skills to the equipment. And when Eleanor was speaking of, it's really a listening and learning tour, it really is observation and conversation in the beginning. We need to identify what people are good at, what they're licensed to do and perform, and where they need to receive additional training or support, and then see how that mix maps out when we have the condition assessment data to match it back to the employees.
So how many additional local employees will we be having with your
There
group?
would be no change in staff.
So you don't bring anyone local to us?
The management positions, or are you talking about the frontline positions?
The management position?
Oh, okay, yeah. So the management, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. The management positions, it's really important to make sure that the positions are filled with people that have a good cultural fit. The placement and advertising for those positions is open. We start to do that early in the process, and Eleanor and team will distill that list down to a couple of candidates that we think are good fits for the district and present them to the district. They're certainly open to anyone to apply for them.
Uh-oh.
There's a maintenance
And they will live in the district?
Oh, yes, of course, I'm sorry.
They'll be like Steve, though.
Right.
They're just like Steve,
Okay.
yeah. Thank you, thank you for helping me clarify that.
We hope
We operate locally with on-site staff, on-site full-time staff, yes.
I have a question. You know, we have a situation, you know, the budget that Sodexo is asking for is actually higher than what we expended in the previous year by $5,600,000, which means, you know, from my perspective, we left $5,600,000 worth of projects, improvements, maintenance on the table at the end of the year. How can we expect, and what can we expect to see as we utilize those funds to move ahead on projects, maintenance, repairs, district-wide that maybe have not been done in the past?
That's a really awesome question. I'm really happy that you asked that, because very interesting, when we looked at the trend data from 17, we don't have finalized numbers for 18, but we annualized them to project what was happening. I'll call your attention, if you don't mind, to the handout that was on your desk, page 3, or page 4 actually, and I'll just show this to you, because you can see the giant blue slice of the pie on this document. This is a breakdown of where your invoices were spent in 17. And if you look at the material invoice slice of the pie, which is about 60% of it, that's an abnormally high slice of the pie. It shouldn't be that high. That means that there's probably a lot of reactive maintenance going on. That means that people are doing those trips back and forth to Home Depot. They're calling up and asking and calling up and ordering. So that's one of the first inefficiencies where we start to realign that spend and making sure that we're properly spending just in time and controlling our inventory and management of it. The other part of this is it was very reactive when we started looking at HVAC system repair, and then some of the other services like handyman. In 2017, from our interpretation of the data that was provided by Lawton, it appeared to be a very reactive third-party program, meaning you called in a lot of vendors to support the on-site team. There could be a host of reasons why that happened. It could be people didn't have the right tools or equipment, knowledge, understanding, many reasons for it. The very first thing is getting that into alignment, and then it's beginning to prioritize and spend money in the right place in the right way to improve the condition, overall condition of the school.
Well,
And you'll see the output of that through those monthly reports.
Well, I mean, how do you accounting for in this, I mean, we had a water line bust under the building and stuff. Of course, it's an emergency situation that's gonna.
Right.
I mean, it's gonna call in people from everywhere.
When we start to look at the trend data, we're pulling out those things that appear to be large project reactive work, and we're looking at the balance of them. So we're taking out the outliers.
Yeah. Great.
Any other questions from the board? All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. We're so happy for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, this is an action item, possibly. Of course, there are several ways to proceed. What I would like to recommend to the board is that the board authorize us through a letter of intent, which the board president would sign after this meeting, a letter of intent to enter the contract with Sodexo, and we could prepare the contract for presentation to the board in the August 6th board meeting. That gives us time to make sure everything's exactly as we want it, and make sure we adjust anything according to any suggestions or concerns the board may have.
Yeah, because my main thing was that I didn't think grounds was included in this. So how, now when you're going to include the grounds and stuff, how does that fall in with dirt work and different things like that they need for the ball teams and stuff? Does that all just kind of fall right into that line? And that's
And I probably did a poor job of explaining that.
You said no. I actually said it's grounds involved, and you said no.
And I didn't understand, it was on our list, so I just did a poor job of explaining that. So we need them to do grounds.
Yes, we do.
And to me, we have great staff. They love our district. This is about getting better support, better training, better supplies, better guidance, and service for our district. It's about a quality of life issue for our staff, for our students, and for the workers in this department. So.
And then I have one more quick question on this, and then we can make our vote and stuff. So, and we're just going to use Tomlinson as a question. You know, you're going by, we're putting up, you know, new roof and stuff over there, and watching the Ford roofing do their flashing and stuff. So does somebody come by and kind of check on that with them? Have somebody that go by and kind of see how that project's running, you know?
I'm sure that.
If they don't.
Because they're slamming it in.
That's what we rely on them to do. Yes.
So you actually brought up some very good points that, thank you. I'll thank you in advance for bringing that up. Yes, we can act as an owner's representative in that situation and check on the condition. And this is part of just operating a high-functioning facilities management department. It's part of our doing business. So yes, we can act in that way and check on a third party to make sure that the condition of the roof is being installed properly.
And you have people that are going to be here that work with you that have that ability, that knowledge to know that how sheet metal works and if the flashing is being done correctly.
We do. We have a lot of resources locally as well as in Oklahoma City if we had to call somebody down. And then we have it's essentially a call center with trained technical staff to on the phone help figure out problems. The point I wanted to make about your great question was in that situation where you're installing a new roof, we're able to capture on your behalf the warranty information.
Right.
And it's in a database, so the next time that there is a problem with it, the database is going to tell us, hey, this is under warranty. So we can have a warranty activity versus a paid invoiced activity. So that was a great example. And I'm not
picking on Ford roofing, it's just a project that I happen to drive by every day. You know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
to move that we enter into a, what did you call it?
Letter of intent.
Letter of intent.
Letter of intent.
With Sodexo on
second.
maintenance.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Any other questions? Call roll, please.
Ms. Gladfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Not saying that.
And with your permission, before the architects met, I didn't inform Colonel King that if he needed to step out, he's welcome to.
Yes.
You're welcome to hang out with Colonel King.
Colonel King, all of these board meetings are this exciting.
But Colonel Curtis, we have an especially long meeting tonight, but Colonel Curtis usually steps out about the time we go into executive session, so I want to let you know you don't have to wait as long as he does.
I'm not going to hold my breath long, it should happen.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Item number 6, the architect's report.
Yes, we'll have Mr. Corey Miller from AIP come up. He's going to share us a little bit of information about not only the safe room progress, but the Eisenhower Middle School, where we are in that process, and we're really pretty close to making some critical decisions.
And again, I did not say Fort Worth was not doing a great job.
Well, just to touch on that, you know, the Thomason roof is one of our projects, and we do regularly go by there, document progress, check on, you know, compliance with the contract and constructability. If you do have an owner's representative, we would definitely work in conjunction with them. But they would, you know, they would be another advisor to the owner, and we'd be happy to work with them. So I'm here tonight to give an update on Eisenhower Middle School. I guess after my presentation, looking down the agenda, we'll be looking at the second GMP amendment for the safe rooms. So you can get a look at the final pricing on the first 7 of those. So I want to go through the budget, and we've got Crossland here that can also step in if there's any specific questions, but we met on June 8th to, we met with the district staff to go over the 95% estimate. That's our kind of most developed, you know, most current estimate, and one of the last things that, one of the last milestones before we proceed into bidding. The construction cost for the middle school and the associated practice fields is $37,630,588. Total project cost for the middle school is at $40,677,942. Safe rooms, we do have some bid numbers in to you know, give us a construction cost that's more than just an estimate at this point. With the GMP amendment being authorized, it would be $8,048,529. With a total total project cost of $9,521,479. We are still looking at any opportunities for cost savings with the middle school as we finish up design. But what has been decided is that we will bid out a handful of the major packages such as earthwork, structural concrete, structural steel, site concrete, site utilities, to see if we can capture any cost savings with competitive bidding. And what it'll do is it'll give us a good indication of where our estimating has been. You know, the scenarios that we're looking at, the opportunity, the potential, you know, if it comes in below budget, it confirms that we've got the money to do everything we wanted to do. If it comes in at budget, it should tell us that, you know, the rest of our estimated numbers are pretty accurate, and we should, you know, make some decisions. If it comes in over budget, we'd take another look at the design and maybe talk about some other changes. So the first packages we're bidding out, like I said, were structural steel, site concrete, building concrete, earthwork, site utilities. Those have advertised. They advertised on July 10th. We're given a full 4 weeks and a couple days for the bidders to look at documents. So we'll open those, I believe, on August 9th, Thursday. So shortly after that, we'll have another report for you guys. Y'all have any questions?
My only concern and question that I have on this still is, that we're going to open up the road right there in front on Gore to where we're coming in, and I'm really concerned that maybe we should be looking at a stoplight or at least something flashing. I know we have a council member here, but is that something that we should be looking at? I don't want to come down the road and have somebody get hit by a car because they're running across 4 lanes of traffic, trying to catch, and that's really very concerning to me that we're changing the way we're going to do that. It's all new.
That's the way they do it now. I mean, they go across 4 lanes of traffic now.
See?
So, I mean, it wouldn't be changing anything.
And we have been studying that with the city and their traffic engineers, and their input has been to drive us to put one of those approaches kind of in the middle of that site where your westernmost bus access is right now.
Right.
That takes it down the hill, so the sight lines are a little bit better, and it takes it away from lining up with one of the streets to the west to try to keep people from cutting across all lanes of traffic to get there. They did mention that there would be a possibility they could recommend a light in the future, but they would like to see how traffic functions once we open the school.
Well, that's, just what I wanted to make sure, because, I mean, hindsight's 20/20, and when you start changing things, people have a tendency to only remember how it used to be. And we're right in the middle of tearing that whole stuff up anyway,
Yeah.
So if we were going to do something, or if the city wanted to, or the architect, or however it works, would be a good time.
Yeah, I think you'll have the, distance for your turning lanes that would accommodate a light there in the future. So the potential is there.
Can I ask a question of a member of the audience? Okay. Jay, I'm not putting you on the spot, but since you are.
Come on down.
I mean, but no, just a question. Have y'all thought about that? I mean, in all this work that y'all are doing over there with all this change, is that something that we should be concerned about, or am I just over-worrying?
No, I think it's something that we already considered, and I think talking with the folks at the Traffic Commission and getting those folks to look at it, that's the people that know.
Okay.
And they're the people, they know where you need crosswalks, where you need lights, and what you need to do, but he's doing the right thing by talking to them, and they'll make the recommendations. The lights are expensive, they're about $300,000, $400,000, depending on what light it is, and so that's not always an every project.
No,
And they can be inconvenient. There's going to be a little more stop time there.
But, when you're talking about an 11-year-old,
Yeah.
that's a very little price.
Well, and I'm sure we'll continue to have crossing people out there, when school lets out, but it's hard.
It's hard to control, but anyway, it's just a busy area. Thank you. That's,
Say that the city has been very cooperative.
oh, yeah, that's why I'm just glad he was here.
It's been a very opportune time for us to do this project because as the project and the construction coincide, Corey and the city have been able to really come up with some benefits to the district and the city.
And that's what, you're just thinking at the same time while all that's going on, is this something, and I'm glad to know that you have done that, so.
Yeah.
Corey, did you say that the building concrete, structural steel, and masonry, or some of the contracts that?
We're not going to bid out masonry quite yet.
Okay.
If we do have to make any design changes, we're trying to keep it limited to things that would not affect the, structure of the building. So that's why we're going to go ahead and bid out things like, structural concrete, building concrete, structural steel, excuse me.
Right.
But masonry is tied heavily to the architectural drawings, and so if we start to, choose some finishes that are a little less expensive, not quite as durable, but still a good product,
right.
Those changes will ripple through our drawings, and then we'll issue a final set that's clean versus, trying to bid masonry out of a drawing that may be out of date by the time we make some other decisions.
Gotcha. Okay, great.
All right.
Anything else?
Yeah, we're still on hold at Whittier, I assume.
Yeah, we won't design Whittier until, we've gotten a complete look at the budget for Eisenhower. We definitely got some cost savings on the prototypical precast structures for the 7 safe rooms we did bid. So there's some opportunities to use some of that there. But we haven't made any decisions yet on, do we do additional parking at Whittier versus maybe having an opportunity to build a safe room at another site. So there's lots of things still on the table.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, report of the superintendent?
Yes, under my report, we have a very information-rich meeting today. I don't know if anybody has noticed that, but if you think about it, it's hot outside, and so I'd rather be in here than out there. Under item 7A, we have an action item, and previously we had done the GMP number 1 for the safe rooms, and so this is the second GMP, and it's for the construction of safe room buildings, Almar West, et cetera. And for that, we have Jeff from